One of the things that's always been very challenging for me is this mindset from parents that once their kids are in high school, we can back off a little bit. And maybe they don't need as much, they don't need me kind of meddling a little bit and being involved. And in my experience, that's about as false as it gets. They actually probably need you more as a junior than they may have as a first grader because there's more available to them. There's all kinds of challenges that are around them.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, I'm Steve Bebee. I am the superintendent of the Buckeye Union High School District. We're located in the West Valley of the greater Phoenix metropolitan area. We have about 5,600 students in our district, 3 comprehensive high schools, and 1 learning center.
Hey everyone, my name is Scott Warner. I am the Director of Safety and Security for the Buckeye Union High School District.
Welcome to the episode, gentlemen. I'm so excited for you to inspire other district leaders and parents on how we could do one really important thing: build a strong bond with students around these new digital tools that they all have. Obviously, 20 years ago, none of us really had these incredible things that we call Ferraris. For those of you listening on the podcast right now, I'm holding up my iPhone because it is a 200-mile-an-hour device that sometimes we just give to kids without instructions. So I'm excited to have 2 absolute professional leaders here today. Now, we're going to start off with the superintendent. Superintendent, my first question for you here: what is your biggest accomplishment as a district over the past 1 to 4 years?
First of all, as a superintendent, our biggest accomplishment in the last couple of years is becoming an A district, known as where we are all judged and rated by how well we're doing. So the Buckeye Union High School District is an A district now, and there's a huge point in pride in doing that. But a couple other things as I reflect back on the last little bit of time. One of the biggest accomplishments we've had is adding the gentleman that's on the call with us and literally adding a position to our district, having a director of safety and security, someone who can truly focus every single day, all day long on the safety and security measures in our district. We've been able to add safety corridors at our school sites and really try to focus on keeping schools safe. But one of the things that I've been really pleased with is when it comes to technology, we've added a district app now. So we have that means of communication to all parents, community members, stakeholders, anybody who's willing to put our app on their phone so that we can communicate with them. But other things that we've made great strides this past year, and that is increasing our district's infrastructure and putting in place safe digital protocols for protecting our staff and students. Every day you read in the newspaper of districts that have been hacked or ransomware or different things like that. So really taking the time to put those measures in place to keep everybody in our district safe has been huge. But another big accomplishment for us is increasing the collaboration and communication with both the Buckeye and Goodyear Police Department. Again, focusing on some of those digital resources and different digital tools that we can monitor what's going on in our kids, know what kids are getting involved with, communicating back to the site, which includes, we have anonymous alerts in our district where any student, any parent, anybody can get on our website and they can let us know through digital means any concern they have in our district. That goes directly to the site administration. I get it. Scott Warner gets it. It gives us the opportunity to know what's going on out there and trying to head things off firsthand before they would become a problem.
Thank you, Superintendent. There's a lot of really amazing things you're doing here, and especially adding head of safety and security. I kind of want to dive into that. Scott, welcome to the episode. I want to ask you, with your new role in the district, what advice do you have for other school districts to deal with social media issues that may originate on a social media app, but then create a very real problem on campus?
One of the things that we do here is we take everything seriously. So even if it seems to be a transient threat or kids blowing off steam or whatever, we make an effort to talk to those kids and work through those kinds of being a digital citizen. So we have a monitoring program. We're a one-to-one technology district. And so if they're on our devices, we have an algorithm that captures inappropriate activity. And that information is is sent to me, and then I can farm it out to our various schools so they can talk to kids. And so we really are trying to nip it in the bud before it starts. But if we get it, we take it seriously, even if it doesn't seem like it's all that serious. We have kids who will say, "I'm going to kill myself." Usually it's a turn of a phrase. A lot of kids say that these days. They don't mean it. But every time we see that in our program, we take it serious and we talk to that kid and we make sure they're okay. If I could one single piece of advice, it'd be take the ball seriously. The bullying complaints, the threats, everything that happens out there, because as you stated in your question, it becomes a very real problem for us if we don't. So we're trying to make sure that doesn't happen.
I love that. You take it seriously because you never know which one is real. One of them will be real.
Right.
We could have 100 bad ones, and one of them is absolutely the real deal. So I love that you're doing that. And what I also like that you're saying, Scott, is your district is serious about getting ahead of the problem. You're listening proactively so that you're not reactively on Monday morning going, "Oh no, I've got to become," we call it detective and then firefighter, and then back over to district leader, principal, parent, PTA, and so on. So absolutely love where you're going with that.
One of the things we have streamlined and improved and made more efficient our threat assessment process. When we get with a kid that we're nervous about, we do threat assessments now. And it used to be that we were kind of reactive with our threat assessments. So a kid had already been in trouble or already done something they shouldn't have done. Then we do a threat assessment. Now we're trying to catch these kids before it happens and make sure they get the resources they need. We get them redirected to the right place. Those kinds of things. We are trying to be as proactive as we possibly can.
Yeah, that's terrific. It's a lot of work, but it makes a big difference in the community. Now, Superintendent, speaking of the community, I want to dive back over into you and get your take on this. I want to ask you the question, can you provide some examples of how your students perhaps have used their social media in a positive or productive way that may have benefited themselves or their community?
Absolutely. We're a high school only district. So we work with high school students on a regular basis. And trust me, in all my years of working with high school kids, I never cease to be amazed by the talents and abilities of high school kids. But we have some great kids in our district. And I think some of the things that I've really appreciated is seeing them use social media to promote either the activities, maybe it's the athletic team that they're on, maybe they're on a club, a service organization, and they've been out doing things in the community until they use social media to promote the things that they've given back to their community. A lot of our kids use social media just to communicate with each other, to know when upcoming activities are happening. They use it around homecoming, so everybody knows what's happening the next day, when to expect some things. I really have been very proud of our kids, as a lot of our kids use social media to promote themselves, to promote their school, to promote the community, and really use it to build a very positive culture and climate in our school campuses.
Love everything I'm hearing. I want to take just a little moment. I want you to please communicate to parents that are listening to this right now. We all know people get fired because of what they put online. And districts are becoming aware of that, going, well, we need to teach students how to be positive on social media if they're going to use the very device that we're all giving them. I call it a Ferrari, and I'm holding that up for those listeners. If we're going to give kids a Ferrari, we need to teach them how to positively use it, so they're not doing donuts in front of our house going, wow, this is really fun. I don't know how to use it. Superintendent, I would love for you to give like 1 or 2 tips to parents out there on not only the reason why they need to use it in a positive way if they do have a phone or on social media, but also why, because you are an employer, just like I am. You do want to build the best staff possible to nurture these students so that they can go into the world being resilient and awesome. So what's your advice to parents on why they need to talk to their kids about being positive online, and also why it's so important that they do that?
In our digital world today, digital citizenship is critical. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that our parents have in front of them, is to really work with their kids and make sure they understand what a digital footprint is and what they are creating for themselves each and every time they get on that Ferrari, as you call it, and they put information out there. It's unfortunate that the longer I've been an administrator, you learn about the dark web. You learn about all of those things that exist for very harmful, very degrading purposes. And kids a lot of times are innocent and don't understand what they've just entered into when they suddenly send that nude photo to another person harmlessly or things like that. So I think it's very important that our parents, number one, know what their kids are doing on their devices. But number two, that they realize the long-term ramifications that they'll never get back if they don't pay good attention to what they're doing on those devices.
Yeah, so true. So true. And I love that you're telling parents it's important, and we also need to look at someday in a way to use it in a positive way. Now let's dive into the next side of things. I have another question for you, and I think we're going to bounce over here to Scott as well. Scott, what suggestions do you have for parents to encourage their kids to use tech in that positive way that we're just talking about, but not only at home, also in the classroom?
At home, my suggestion to parents, if your child has a Ferrari that they use, they have access to everything you could possibly imagine. And unfortunately, a whole bunch of stuff you probably can't imagine. They should know what their students are doing. The ways you can do that is follow them on their social media accounts. And so if a child has an Instagram account, you should be one of their followers. If a child has a Facebook account, I'm showing my age now, you should be one of their friends. And it's also important, I think, to check in with them on their chats, the Snapchats and the Instagram chats, and actually have them read them to you or read them together so that you know what your children are saying to each other. I think that that's something that would open their eyes greatly if they could do that with their kids. And then they also have to step in and help them. It's an addiction, so they have to help them. There's ways to do that. You could make sure that all phones go in the kitchen at nighttime. I have a friend who has smart outlets all throughout his house, and he turns them off so the kids can't charge their phone and get on their phone during the night. And the internet is set to a timer as well. But there's lots of creative ways to help your kids. For educators and in the classroom, it certainly is important that they know what their kids are doing, because all those laptops are opened up and it's just the back to them. They need to get around to the other side of them and see where the kids are and what they're doing. One of the things that happens for kids is sometimes they get in trouble. They lose their phones, for instance. They're very clever, and then they use Google Docs or Microsoft Docs to chat with each other. So they open up that Google Doc, which we don't block Google here at the district, or a Word document, and then they use that to chat back and forth during the course of the school day. So it's important that teachers and other educators are looking at what's going on when they are using technology in their classroom, and that if it's something like a video or something like that, it's very important for them to interact with their kids during that process as well. It shouldn't just be a sit and get video. They should be actively talking to their students during the course of the technology use so that they're engaged.
Yeah, you brought up so many good things. I want to dive into one that is so important. I got put on the news once, and an eighth grader followed me up, and we're standing next to each other. They were in my audience, and the news asked me, "Do you think students should have any privacy online under the age of 14?" Right? And I bolted out. I said no. And the eighth grader agreed. And the eighth grader said, "I'm only in eighth grade. I could get myself in a lot of trouble." And it was like, "Thank you. Oh my gosh." Because it went on the news. And I was like, "Oh, what am I doing? Am I going to get in
Yeah.
trouble and get fired?" But every parent agreed. And the reason why I'm saying this right now, Scott, you can agree or disagree with me, but a lot of parents are saying these days, as we interview and have 550 episodes on the podcast, "Josh, I don't want to infringe on my students' privacy. I don't want to infringe on my child's privacy." And I know us as adults, we realize if they're talking with a stranger, we're talking with somebody else, and they're seeing bullying online, even from the same school, maybe from a kid that's going through something else. What would your advice be to them, Scott, as to why they might need to know the passcode to their kids' phones, have a rich dialogue, get around that laptop and look at the other side, as you said, which I thought was so brilliant?
I fundamentally and completely agree about the age of 14. Age of 14 really in many jurisdictions is like the age of reason, right? In terms of understanding what's right and what's wrong. And I think the age of reason probably extends to 25 nowadays. I mean, in terms of understanding what's right and wrong online. But I think that's key. You want your students to understand and develop independence and understand what's going on. But at the same time, you must protect them from what's out there on the internet, what's out there on those social media apps and things like that, especially through 14. And I would say that live at your house unless they're an adult. I mean, it really is important that we know what the folks we're in charge of are doing online. And as I said, we have that monitor program, and I see what they do at night.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily address it unless it's a threat or a bullying or something like that. We don't get into that, but I see it because it alerts. It alerts to inappropriate stuff they're doing online that's not age appropriate. It's very important that you know what your child is up to, and what they're doing and who they're talking to and what they're saying. and what groups they're in and all those sorts of things. We all have to do it together. We all have to figure that out together. Parents can't just send them to us at the district, at our high schools, and expect us to fix that. That's something they really need to take a look at. I would echo the eighth grader who talked to you and say very clearly that the 14 at least should have no reasonable expectation of privacy online.
Yeah, absolutely. You just said the word together. I actually want to take that and I want to jump back over to the superintendent. Superintendent, what are some of your suggestions for other districts to increase that togetherness? We're going to call it parent engagement. And a follow-up question inside that, are there any specific channels, types of events that get the biggest turnout that you could inspire other school districts so we can have that rich dialogue between the school district and the parents?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Josh. In my career, I've been with high school kids for 21 of the 29 years I've been in education. And one of the things that's always been very challenging for me is this mindset from parents that once their kids are in high school, we can back off a little bit. And maybe they don't need as much, they don't need me kind of meddling a little bit and being involved. And in my experience, that's about as false as it gets. They actually probably need you more as a junior than they may have as a first grader because there's more available to them. There's all kinds of challenges that are around them. You really just have to be in tune. So I think one of the things that we have found is you can do things out of school, even on some of our back to school nights or meet the teacher nights, around some of those things, taking the time to invite parents in ahead of time, getting ready to have some conversation, and taking advantage whenever you have those groups to be able to talk about some of these things, taking advantage of some of those times. Because oftentimes, if you say, hey, guess what? At the school tonight, we're going to have a whole conversation on digital citizenship. We'd love you to come down and see that. And then you get a handful of parents to come and many that don't. But if they're coming there for some celebration or some neat thing that's going on, and now you have them, take advantage of that time to just give some of that fair warning and let them know about some of the challenges that maybe either you're experiencing or some of the challenges that you want to warn them of so that they can protect their child growing up. I raised my kids are all adults now. I went through the teenage sin. And when it comes to your question earlier on the cell phone and privacy, I always come down to this. Who's paying the bill? If I'm paying the bill, I have all the rights to everything happen on that phone.
Everybody watching this, listening to this has an employer. And the employer, if you bring your own device or put it on the employer's network, the employer has a right, a chance, the opportunity, and there's an understanding that they're going to read the emails if something happens, right? And guess what, parents? You are the employer of the kid. You are putting, as the superintendent just said, you're putting a roof over their head, all that amazing stuff. So I agree with you, Superintendent, 110%. Now, we're about to dive into the hottest topic in the whole world. We're going to talk about AI in just a second. Before we get to that, I want to thank the 100 school districts that are working with us right now. Thank you. And shout out to all of you that are supporting smartsocial.com as we host 54 plus live events to engage parents, to bring them together. We do it through all these different live things. Last night, we taught AI becoming the homework hero so parents can all of a sudden not have to be great at trigonometry, but they can sit with their kid and go, let's ask that calculus question to AI and let's learn together. And it doesn't give you the answer. It teaches you how to do it. And all of a sudden, we as a family are working together. Thank you to the school districts that are imploring us in the community. We're so grateful for all that we're doing and able to do in your community. We got some really great feedback last night. It was very popular. So thanks for everybody that are allowing us to do that. All right, we're back into the hottest topic in the whole world right now, not only just with students, but also on the news. I want to ask you, gentlemen, how is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT?
Right now, one of the goals in the Buckeye Union High School District is that we really support workforce and workforce development. We understand as a school district that our world is changing and that not every single student is going to need a 4-year degree to achieve the lifestyle and the goal and the job that they want in life. And guess what? AI plays a big part of that. So many jobs right now are going to involve some type of robotics, AI. We have here in the Buckeye area, we have warehouses and big buildings coming in and industry coming in all the time that has all kinds of robotics and AI. And so we truly understand that it has a place in our district. And right now, what we're doing as a district is involving our teachers, involving our administrators, involving our students and parents on exactly what components of AI we want to see used in our district. But I think that we understand that there's a benefit, there's a need, and there's certainly a place. And we as a school district would be doing our staff and our students a disservice if we didn't introduce these tools to them as they're in high school. Our world's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Gentlemen, I want to thank both of you for being here today. Thank you so much for your insight, your inspiration, and also for your parenting tips. We appreciate it. Thank you to the many school districts that are our partners, helping us to keep students safe on social media so that someday they can shine online, get that dream college, career, internship, whatever they're looking for, so they're resilient and ready for the tomorrow that we're trying to help them get to. As the title of my book says, remember, my friends, to keep it light, bright, and polite online because your kids are watching. We'll see all of you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone. Take care.